Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I watched a 3-hour interview on the Joe Rogan podcast, and you're not going to believe what the government had planned for us should 45 never become 47. I'm going to try to save you 3 hours, but I recommend that you watch that entire interview because it was astonishing, the things that this gentleman exposed. Every time that I come across this type of information, I go back to a few years back probably now, with someone calling me out and saying, AP, none of this stuff is planned ahead of time. Why are you talking like this? Well, wait till you hear this. FinTech CEO exposes how feds colluded in debanking schemes, meaning that the federal government colluded with big financial companies to debank people that had a political point of view that they did not share with the government. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is coming from someone that was a lifelong Democrat and has finally had enough of how this system is used against we the people. It leads me to go back to that quote from Ayn Rand that says something like this. I'll paraphrase it, but it makes a lot of sense if you compare it to how the government is and has been behaving for several years now. When laws are passed by government to protect government against the people, but are not passed to protect the people against the government, then your society is doomed. Last week, Mark Andreessen sat down with Joe Rogan for 3 hours, where the billionaire investor and founder of VC firm Andreessen Horowitz dropped an aerial bombardment of red pills, on the general public, spanning everything from the US government's designs to completely control AI and to weaponize government effort to secretly debank 30 tech founders in an effort to destroy political opponents, particularly those in crypto. The government should not be using the powers granted to it by the people in order to destroy people that don't have its political views. Period. This needs to stop, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about our freedoms. What if you wake up one day and your credit cards don't work? Your ATM card doesn't work. You go and try to log into your account and there's nothing there. It's like it was never there. What are you going to do? This is the power that the system is trying to provide to the government at the government's bequest. And we need to make sure we understand that is going on, so that if it ever happens, we know that it's not just a fluke. They've uncovered a new way to destroy companies. 30 tech founders were secretly debanked. No warning, no explanation, no appeals. Pure silent government power, which is the worst kind of power that there is. That's why so many people in the government right now are so scared, and in my opinion, will be running for the hills as soon as 47 gets in office and unleashes the patriots that are going to uncover their misdeeds. We the people have had enough. We've had enough of our freedoms being taken away. We've had enough of our labor being stolen from us via inflation. We've had enough, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for a change. Following the interview, former PayPal president, Facebook executive, and Coinbase board member David Marcus revealed on Friday how political pressure and red tape led to the demise of Facebook's cryptocurrency project Libra. According to Marcus, the turning point came in 2021 after having addressed every last possible regulatory concern across financial crime, money laundering, consumer protection, reserve management, buffers, and so much more in advance of a launch. And that's how they get you, regulation after regulation after regulation. Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell appeared ready to greenlight a limited pilot of the project, but Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen allegedly intervened. In a private meeting, Yellen reportedly warned Powell that supporting Libra would be political suicide. All right, ladies and gentlemen, not because it was illegal. Again, I don't really like Facebook at all. However, ladies and gentlemen, in a free society, we must allow competition and free speech, of course. a move that Marcus describes as a definite blow. Shortly thereafter, Federal Reserve representatives discouraged participating banks from moving forward, effectively intimidating the financial institutions into withdrawing their support. For Marcus, this marked not just the end of Libra, but also a disheartening realization about the political dynamics within the United States financial system. Shortly thereafter, the Fed organized calls with all of the participating banks, and the Fed's General Counsel read a prepared statement to each of them saying, "We can't stop you from moving forward and launching, but we are not comfortable with you doing so." And just like that, it was over. And he emphasized that there was no legal or regulatory angle left for the government or regulators to kill the project. It was 100% political kill, one that was executed through intimidation of captive banking institutions. When the government gets together with big institutions and corporations to work against the people, that is fascism. When corporations and governments mix. And this other ex-post from Terry Angelo says, "I can confirm that Dem leaders called Visa with similar messages. Our crypto team had to backtrack our support. There were plenty of critics of how Libra might work, but the fact that the experiment was not allowed to move forward was a huge step backward for the USA." Snow apocalypse strands drivers along I-90 in Lake Erie area. But I'll tell you what does Al Gore have to say about all of this snow that we're all of a sudden getting? The lake effect snowstorm that pummeled Great Lakes communities on Friday and into early Monday hours on Saturday has stranded drivers along a large stretch of Interstate 90 in Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, this just goes to show that you need to be prepared, even in your vehicle. Make sure you have some kind of a get-home bag or a bag, call it whatever you want, in your vehicle that has something that can sustain you for 2 or 3 days, just in case. Because this is no joke. Al Gore, please answer this question. Why is it that there was 63 inches of snow in only 48 hours in the year 2024, roughly 24 years after you said there would be no more snow? And along Lake Erie, there was an additional 3 to 4 feet. Imagine that, ladies and gentlemen. I live in Alaska, and I can't even imagine that much snow dropping down in such a short period of time. Drivers have found themselves stranded on I-90 overnight due to the extreme lake effect snow that has brought impacts over the last 36 hours. Some areas along the Great Lakes have already seen up to 2 feet of snow, and it's not letting up yet. That may not look like a dangerous situation, but it is. You see all of those headlights? All of those headlights has people inside those vehicles. I just hope that they all made it home safely. On this post, Mr. Ben Knowles says below average eastern temperatures will continue to the first week of December before a change. In the second week, the western ridge is forecast to retrograde, allowing some milder air masses to slide east. These temperatures contrast may encourage stormier conditions, which means that the cold and the hot getting together may create even more precipitation, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a weather guy, but that kind of makes sense to me. And more global warming goodness coming our way, ladies and gentlemen, as Europe's gas storage empties at fastest rate since 2016. I'm not going to talk about this too much. I just want to show you this. You see here, 2011. This is how much gas they used on an Annam, I believe, is what they're talking about here. About 450. Look at the trend. The trend is up. The trend is at a little bit over 1,000 right now. So it goes up and down, up and down. The trend is up. So do you think that in the next 5 years, it's going to be down here? Or it's going to be up here? Look at this. Where's 5 years from here? Right there. A lot higher, right? 5 years from here? Right here. A lot higher, right? So it's going to be even higher if the trend continues the way that it is. And Al Gore got it so wrong that I think that maybe global warming may be taking a break for a few hundred years or so. Haitian migrants are fleeing Springfield, Ohio ahead of Trump inauguration. In June of this year, Biden granted special immigration benefits to at least 300,000 Haitians, oh my goodness, brought into the country in 2022, allowing them to remain until early 2026. The plan included minimal background checks and was originally touted by Biden as a way to slow illegal border encounters. Imagine that. This administration, however, did not renew legal status protection in 2024 for a large percentage of these immigrants, and they will be required to leave the U.S. in the near term. A host of NGOs advise migrants on how to use legal loopholes to stay within the country for extended periods of time, usually dragging out the clock until they can apply for permanent residency. None of this, however, will matter much in the wake of Donald Trump's mass deportation plans. The ability of migrants living in the U.S. under tenuous circumstances to fight deportation is limited. Democrats and sanctuary city officials suggest they can tie up the DHS and ICE for months or years on each case, exhausting the Trump administration with legal battles. This is not reality, however. Trump can indeed place a moratorium on asylum requests and revoke temporary protection status applications. He did this during his first term, and he can do it again. Legal battles are harder to fight when the person in question is booted out of the country where the courts reside. There is nothing that can stop deportations, including ambiguous sanctuary city protections. One way or another, most migrants in the U.S. illegally and those under Biden's TPS policy will be sent back to where they came from. Anticipating that Trump will fulfill his promise of a 25% tariff on all imports from Mexico and Canada and an additional 10% on imports from China, importers are front-loading freight before the tariff wall takes effect in less than 2 months. Just get whatever it is that you need now, if you can. Do not put anything on a credit card so that you can take a year to pay it off. In my opinion, that makes absolutely no sense. I'm not a financial advisor. Do what you want to do. Ladies and gentlemen, life is not going to get less expensive. There's always going to be one reason or another why life gets more expensive. That's the way that fiat currencies work. You can blame it on whatever it is that you want to blame it. Supply and demand, tariffs, this happened in this port, something blew up in this container ship, etc., etc., etc. In a fiat currency system, your life will always get more expensive until the system has to change. Smith & Wesson deplatformed from Facebook as Musk welcomes gun industry to X. It should have nothing to do with what industry you're in, as long as it is an industry that is providing a service that's legal, moral, and ethical. You know those bad industries? I'm not talking about those, all right? But these guys here that make firearms, Smith & Wesson, they should be able to have a Facebook account. Why can't they have a Facebook account, Facebook? Just because they make something that you don't like? So are you going to go ahead and ban every company that makes something that you don't like? And on X, Smith & Wesson posts, despite our extensive effort and resources spent on trying to adhere to Facebook's ever-changing community guidelines on firearms, our account was suspended indefinitely on Friday, November 22nd, after 15 years of being on. In an era where free speech and the right to bear arms are under constant attack, we want to thank Elon Musk and X for supporting free speech and our constitutional rights guaranteed by the First and Second Amendment. Amen to that. While we work to reinstate our account, we encourage our 1.6 million Facebook followers to get the heck out of there and go over to X. And look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This is kind of like where I was getting at, where the government can collude with companies and corporations. What if this happens to your bank account and it's just not there anymore and you have no way to fight it? And we're doing a full circle here, ladies and gentlemen, going back to how we started this video. They've uncovered a new way to destroy companies. 30 tech founders were secretly debanked. No warning, no explanation, no appeals. Pure silent government power. It looks like it's the corporations or the companies doing this, but there's someone behind them pulling the strings, using force in order to make them do what they want them to do. The evolution of Operation Choke Point, from targeting the gun industry to focusing on political enemies of the Democratic Party, is an alarming and speaks volumes about the authoritarian nature of the Biden and Harris regime. And how can you disagree with that after all the evidence that there is out there? Having said that, have a great day. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.